Buckeye Talk coming to you from Maryland after Ohio State's 43-30 victory. A very interesting night. Saw a little bit of everything here tonight, including C.J. Stroud in his last game before the game, where he gets to make a statement in terms of the Heisman Trophy potentially. Tonight, lost my place. 18 of 30, 241 yards, 1 touchdown. Also ran for a little bit. Actually, it doesn't even minus 6 yards on 4 carries. That includes the 1 sack he took. Not an especially nimble night for him necessarily. Steven, how are you grading C.J. Stroud heading into what you've called basically the biggest game of his career?
I'm going to give him a B minus. Because, one, it really doesn't matter what he did this week as long as they won the game. But I thought he was a little loose at times with some of the throws he was making. He's had a couple of throws this year, maybe like 10 to 15 throws where it's like, that should have been a pick. That should have been a pick. And sometimes he pays for it. Sometimes he doesn't. He probably should have paid for the one today, but it touched the ground before the Maryland player got to it. But he just didn't. He looked a little off. And some of that is, I think these wide receivers, we've gotten to a point where it's been Marvin Harrison Jr. or nothing, and we need to see a little bit more from Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming. Now, we saw a little bit more from Emeka Egbuka late here, but he also had some drops. So it's a combination of those two things where the receivers haven't been as good as they need to be, but also Stroud's been a little loose, and he probably needs to clean that up heading into next week. So B minus from me.
I'm also going to say B minus just on the CJ standard. Good performance to get them a win here today. I think what is throwing him off too, or was throwing him off in the first half of this game a little bit, was just they don't have the balance and flow that they want between the running game and the passing game. They were behind the sticks a lot. The running game was getting them nothing, and it wasn't until they put Dallin Hayden in this game to make some of those cutback runs and start propelling this offense forward that they started to, I feel like, get some of that snap back, get some of that that zing back, and you saw it a little bit more, I thought, in the second half. So a good enough performance, but like you said, this wasn't the one that was going to make his season. I guess it could have broken it if they'd lost, but I think he can still, in that Michigan game, there's an opportunity to have your Heisman moment, however you want to call it, and potentially take a stand as the person who's the front runner for that award in a lot of people's eyes. Doug, your grade for C.J. Stroud.
So it wasn't consistent, right? I mean, there wasn't a lot of flow to it. We use the word clunky. Yep. We've used it several times with this offense. But I do think, and I have a terrible memory, they were 8 of 15 on third downs. I feel like there were maybe 3 or 4 like third down conversions that were like, I'm not sure every quarterback in the country makes that throw in that spot, right? And he dropped the ball in the bucket to Emeka, which he could down the sideline, which he can really do. They almost had a deep one to Marvin that was overruled on replay because he didn't quite control it. I'll give him a B, but it's like it's almost like, well, that throw was a D, and then that throw was an A. And then, like, the average is kind of a B. But I also think in a game like this, there was room for 1 or 2 more loose throws. And I think loose is a good word. 1 or 2 more, I think they lose. Oh, yeah. So I think he also made some game-saving plays at critical moments, even though – he didn't maybe do that at the highest level for all 4 quarters. So I'll give him a B.
Yeah, when it's 33-30 in the second half, I even said, like, hey, we're like 1 fumble away from the true freshman that's in the game from turning this. And it could have happened earlier in the game with, like you said, some of the loose throws that he had early on. But Ohio State wins, moves on. We'll be talking about this more on the Buckeye Talk postgame pod. And get the text 614-350-3315. You sign up now. It takes you through the game next week. It takes you pretty much through the Big Ten Championship as well if Ohio State is playing in it.